Now we see that progression that happened. Alienation of friends and family. Isolation from jobs.
Brian's stretching, doing some morning yoga.
Gabby and Brian were part of the so-called van life trend of social influencers, driving across the country, documenting their road trip on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
We are right outside Capitol Reef right now in a free dispersed camp spot.
They left New York July 2nd, their social media accounts soon filling up with pictures and videos of their travels over the following weeks.
I looked at Brian and I said, "You better take good care of her, keep her safe." And he was like, "I will."
For a while, Gabby and Brian's trip seemed to be going well, but newly uncovered video featured in the documentary seemed to show tension growing between the couple.
We have this nice big open floor for you to keep your dirty feet.
Behind the scenes, Gabby and Brian would get into arguments.
Okay, no, turn it back. Show me the remote.
At some
It began as a fantasy, a modern American dream, lived out in a tiny, hand-converted van against the epic backdrop of the country's national parks. 22-year-old Gabby Petito and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, were travel bloggers, part of a growing trend known as van life. Their journey, which started in New York on July 2nd, 2021, was curated for the world to see. Through Instagram posts and a single professionally edited YouTube video on their channel Nomadic Static, they presented an idyllic picture of love and adventure, smiling faces, cartwheels on the beach, breathtaking sunsets, and intimate moments in their cramped but cozy home on wheels. They were building a story, and millions of people were invited to tag along. But then, in late August 2021, the posts just stopped. The digital breadcrumb trail went cold. On September 1st, Brian Laundrie returned to his parents' home in Florida, alone in the white Ford Transit puzzle, and millions of people felt like they had a personal stake in solving it. This wasn't just passively watching true crime. This was active, collaborative, and at times incredibly effective. Users created timelines, analyzed maps, and shared information at a speed that formal police work could never match. While police were establishing search grids and following official protocols, TikTok was building a vast crowdsourced intelligence network. The first massive breakthrough didn't come from a police tip line, but from YouTube. A family of fellow van lifers, Jen and Kyle Bethune of the channel Red, White, and Bethune, were going through old footage. On September 18th, while editing video from late August, a notification popped up on Jen's phone about the search for Gabby. It urged anyone who'd been in the Grand Teton National Park area to check their photos and videos. A chill ran down her spine. She remembered seeing a white van with Florida plates. She and her husband raced to their GoPro footage from August 27th, and there it was, around 6 p.m., while driving through the Spread Creek dispersed camping area. Their camera had captured Gabby and Brian's little white Ford Transit. Jen Bethune later recalled that the van was dark and appeared abandoned, with no sign of activity. They uploaded their discovery to YouTube and immediately sent the footage to the FBI. The Bethune's video was the key that unlocked the entire search. It placed Gabby's van in a specific searchable location at a specific time. The very next day, September 19th, the FBI announced they had found human remains in that same camping area. An autopsy would later confirm it was Gabby Petito, and investigators determined that someone had taken her life. I'm using softened language here because of YouTube's rules, but you understand the gravity of what happened. But the Bethunes weren't the only ones. The digital dragnet was tightening, now focused on Brian Laundrie's movements after Gabby was last seen alive. On September 17th, 2 days before Gabby's remains were discovered, a TikTok user named Miranda Baker posted a series of videos that went viral. She began with a statement that jolted the online community. "Hi, my name is Miranda, and on August 29th, my boyfriend and I picked up Brian at Grand Teton National Park. According to Baker, she and her boyfriend saw Laundrie hitchhiking alone near Coulter Bay. He offered them $200 for a 10-mile ride to Jackson. Baker thought the offer was strange. Laundrie allegedly told them he'd been camping for days while his fiancée was back at their van working on social media posts. But when Baker mentioned they were going to Jackson Hole, he freaked out, became antsy, and insisted they let him out of the car immediately. The encounter was brief and bizarre, but it placed Brian Laundrie alone and agitated, miles from the van, 2 days after the Bethunes had spotted it. Baker said she only realized the significance of it all after seeing other TikToks about the case, which prompted her to call the authorities. Another travel blogger, Jessica Schultz, told the FBI she'd also seen the white van and a man she believed was Laundrie acting awkward by himself at Spread Creek on August 26. After seeing the online discussion, she called in her tip. Schultz later recounted an FBI agent telling her, "I've talked to hundreds of people, but you guys are the ones that really tipped us off to the right place, so thank you." In just a matter of days, a network of strangers, connected by an algorithm, had accomplished something extraordinary. They had provided 3 crucial corroborated tips that established a location for the victim and a timeline for the person of interest. They had helped blow the case wide open. The #Gabby Petito hashtag wasn't just a trend. It was a testament to the power of networked communication. But that power was a double-edged sword, and its dark side was about to cast a long shadow over the entire investigation. For every invaluable tip, the digital manhunt produced 1,000 pieces of garbage. The same platforms that channeled crucial information to the FBI also became a breeding ground for a toxic sludge of misinformation, conspiracy theories, and reckless accusations. The line between helping and hindering, between justice and entertainment, became hopelessly blurred. The case morphed into a grotesque form of reality TV, a true crime episode unfolding in real life, as some TikTokers described it. This transformation from tragedy to content was swift and shameless. Creators, some with genuine intentions and others driven by a thirst for views, began churning out dozens of videos a day. One user, Paris Campbell, posted over 50 videos on the case, gaining over 45 million views and profiting from the obsession through TikTok's Creator Fund. The case became monetizable, a trending topic to be exploited. This gold rush for content led to a frenzy of baseless speculation. Wild theories were amplified by the TikTok algorithm, which rewards engagement, not accuracy. People accused Brian Laundrie's parents of hiding him in a secret bunker beneath their flower bed, leading to ghoulish protests and people literally digging up their garden. Strangers were misidentified and doxxed. A live streamer in a park was swarmed by online accusers who thought he was Brian Laundrie despite zero resemblance. But the ruined aspect of the case goes far deeper than online gossip. The case became a grotesque spectacle where the human tragedy was secondary to the entertainment value. Content creators began treating Gabby's disappearance like a real-time mystery series, complete with cliffhangers, theories, and dramatic reveals. The algorithm rewarded the most sensational content, pushing responsible reporting to the sidelines in favor of wild speculation and conspiracy theories. The monetization machine kicked into overdrive. Creators discovered they could build entire channels around the case, generating substantial income from advertising revenue and sponsorships while dissecting every detail of a young woman's final weeks. The tragedy became a business model, with some creators posting multiple videos per day to capitalize on the trending topic. This transformation from news story to entertainment content had real consequences. The Petito family found themselves not only grieving their daughter, but managing a media circus that seemed to take on a life of its own. They had to watch as Gabby's story was analyzed, theorized about, and monetized by complete strangers who treated her case like a puzzle to be solved rather than a life that was lost. While the internet was awash with theories, a piece of evidence emerged that cut through all the noise. It wasn't a TikTok video or an Instagram post, but over an hour of police body camera footage. And it would become the story's horrifying climax. On August 12, 2021, Weeks before Gabby's last contact with her family, police in Moab, Utah, were dispatched after a 911 caller reported seeing a man engage in concerning behavior toward a woman before they drove off in a white van. An officer spotted the van speeding, driving erratically, and pulled them over. What followed was a deeply disturbing interaction. The body cam footage shows a visibly distraught Gabby Petito sobbing uncontrollably. She struggles to explain what happened, apologizing over and over. Brian Laundrie, by contrast, appears calm, almost charming. He jokes with the officers, presenting himself as the level-headed one, trying to manage his unstable fiancée. Gabby admits to making physical contact with Brian, but also says that he had grabbed her face and left a scratch on her cheek. The officers noted scratches on Brian as well. Through her tears, Gabby tries to explain the immense stress of their trip and her own anxiety. Laundrie, meanwhile, carefully constructs a narrative that minimizes his own actions and emphasizes Gabby's emotional instability. He successfully paints a picture where she is the aggressor and he is the victim. The officers, seemingly swayed by Brian's calm demeanor and Gabby's frantic state, made a fateful decision. They concluded that Gabby was the primary aggressor, having a mental health crisis, not a victim of an unhealthy relationship dynamic. Instead of taking anyone into custody, they separated the couple for the night, putting Brian in a hotel and leaving a tearful Gabby with the van. Watching the footage now is excruciating. Experts in relationship dynamics would later analyze the video, pointing out classic signs of coercive control and reactive responses. Gabby's emotional state, they argued, wasn't evidence of her being unstable, but the desperate response of someone in a toxic, controlling relationship. It was a catastrophic failure to recognize the warning signs of escalating relationship conflict, a missed opportunity that would haunt everyone who watched it. While the world was dissecting that footage, the search for Brian Laundrie was intensifying. After being named a person of interest, he vanished from his parents' home in Florida around September 13th, telling them he was going for a hike in the vast Carlton Reserve. The grim conclusion came on October 20th, 2021. Human remains, along with a backpack and a notebook belonging to Brian, were found in an area that had previously been underwater. Dental records confirmed the remains were his. He had taken his own life with a firearm. The final, undeniable truth of what happened lay inside that waterlogged notebook. Months later, in June 2022, its contents were released. In his own handwriting, Brian Laundrie confessed to taking Gabby Petito's life. He began the note with an apology. He called Gabby the love of my life and said he was so very sorry to her family. He then concocted a self-serving story, claiming Gabby had sustained severe injuries in a fall. I found her breathing heavily, gasping, he wrote. She was in extreme pain. Then came the chilling confession. I ended her life, he wrote. I thought it was merciful, that it is what she wanted, but I see now all the mistakes I made. I panicked. I was in shock. He claimed it was an act of mercy, a story that stands in stark contrast to the coroner's finding that someone had restricted her breathing by applying pressure around her neck area. There was no mercy in Gabby's final moments. The note ended with a final, selfish plea. Please do not make life harder for my family. They lost a son and a daughter. In his last words, he tried to frame himself as a tragic figure, ending with a bizarre and chilling testament to his twisted reality. Please pick up all of my things. Gabby hated people who litter. The aftermath of the case revealed even more troubling patterns in how our digital culture processes tragedy. The monetization of Gabby's story continued long after the case was closed, with countless creators building their entire platforms on dissecting every detail of her final weeks. Some generated millions of views by creating what-if scenarios, alternate theories, and endless speculation about details that had already been resolved by the investigation. This phenomenon highlighted a darker truth about true crime content consumption. The case had become divorced from its human reality, a young woman who lost her life in a terrifying situation and transformed into entertainment. Comment sections filled with people treating the case like a mystery novel, debating theories and plot holes as if they were discussing a fictional story rather than real events that devastated real families. The TikTok algorithm, designed to keep users engaged, proved particularly problematic in this context. It pushed increasingly sensationalized content to the top, rewarding creators who made bold claims or dramatic revelations regardless of their accuracy. This created an environment where responsible reporting was often drowned out by flashier, more engaging misinformation. The case also exposed the limitations of crowdsourced investigation. While some tips proved invaluable, the vast majority of online evidence was either irrelevant or actively harmful. Amateur sleuths misidentified locations, misinterpreted normal behavior as suspicious, and created elaborate theories based on coincidences. Law enforcement later revealed that they had to dedicate significant resources to following up on false leads generated by social media speculation. The psychological impact on the families involved was immense. Gabby's parents found themselves not only grieving their daughter, but also managing a media circus that seemed to take on a life of its own. They had to watch as their daughter's tragedy was dissected, analyzed, and monetized by strangers online. Similarly, the Laundrie family, while remaining largely silent, became targets of intense harassment and threats from people who felt entitled to justice through vigilante means. The Gabby Petito case is a story with no winners, only degrees of loss. It's a story of a vibrant young life cut short and a family shattered by grief. But it's also a uniquely 21st century tragedy, one that forces us to confront the power of social media. On one hand, we witness something remarkable. An army of online sleuths helped surface the information that mattered. The footage from the Bethune family was the single most important breakthrough in the investigation. Eyewitness accounts from people like Miranda Baker and Jessica Schultz, who came forward after seeing the case explode online, helped build a crucial timeline. It's hard to argue the case would have been solved as quickly without this public participation. On the other hand, we saw chaos. The case was treated as macabre entertainment, a real-time true crime series to be monetized. Innocent people were targeted with harassment. In the aftermath, Gabby's family has chosen to create a legacy of positive change. The Gabby Petito Foundation works to raise awareness about relationship conflicts and support organizations that help find missing persons, turning their personal tragedy into a force for good. Their work asks us to move beyond the sensationalism and confront the underlying issues this case exposed, the silent epidemic of unhealthy relationships, and how social media can both help and harm investigations. The story of how TikTok solved and ruined the Gabby Petito case is a complex, uncomfortable, and deeply modern fable. It's a story about how social media can mobilize incredible investigative power while simultaneously turning human tragedy into entertainment. It proves that our connected world can be a powerful tool for justice, but it's also a stark warning about what happens when we lose our humanity in the process. This case should serve as a wake-up call about how we consume true crime content, how we engage with tragedy on social media, and how we can harness the power of digital networks responsibly. The tools that help solve this case aren't going anywhere, but how we use them and whether we use them with respect and humanity remains entirely up to us.